Today, when most people think of a semi-automatic rifle for civilian use, they think of the AR-15. And probably when you think of a larger caliber semi-automatic rifle, again in 2023, you think of something like an AR-10, like this. This is the Daniel Defense DD5 V2 in 308. Daniel Defense makes several different models of the DD5. They also come in 6.5 Creedmoor and 260 Remington. But let's say that you actually wanted an alternative to this rifle for hunting, something that's more of a traditional style stock, not so tactical of a forend, and maybe even a little lighter, because most AR-10s are not the lightest rifles in the world. They're kind of heavy. This rifle here, without the scope on it and the mount, this rifle is coming in somewhere in the 8.5 pound range. So not the most, not the lightest rifle in the world. And then when you put in factor in 20 rounds, if you load this all the way, factor in 20 rounds of 308 ammunition, this gun gets a lot heavier. Plus, if you're hunting with it, the magazine rattles a little bit. It interferes with my backpack. I don't really like carrying rifles with really long magazines with my hunting backpack. At least my hunting backpack's a little larger than a normal backpack probably. So, but that's one option. That's probably what most people think about. And I'll probably do a review and comparison of this rifle. I've got a few different DD5. I got the V2 here, but I've also got the V4 with a night vision setup on it that I'll probably show later. But another alternative that I'd like people to consider for semi-automatic hunting rifles is the Browning BAR. So this has been around a long time. It's a tried and true design. This one happens to be the Hell's Canyon Speed in 7mm Remington Magnum. So let's just talk about let's talk about this rifle first. So, and actually I'll give a comparison of the rounds. So 308, 7mm Remington Magnum. So there's a considerable size difference, considerable velocity difference actually if you're shooting the same, approximately the same weight ammunition. This is a 178 grain ELD match, and this is 150 in 308. This is 152 grain, I think, 150 grain-ish. I forget exactly which one this one is. Superformance in 7mm Remington Magnum. So we've got the difference there. So let's talk about how this rifle is set up and why I think this is a better rifle to carry hunting. It is, and it's not loaded. Let's go ahead. There's no magazine in here. No rounds in the chamber, so just in case anybody was worried about that. This rifle in 7mm Remington Magnum has a couple of advantages over the AR-10. The first is that from the factory, the Hell's Canyon comes in with a Cerakote, a bronze Cerakote on the barrel and the action. It also has a much lighter composite stock and a more traditional foregrip that doesn't heat up. Not that the Daniel Defense gets super hot, but that doesn't heat up very, very badly, right? At all. Got a good grip on it. It's got a fluted barrel, so it saves some weight there as well. This barrel is fluted. And it comes in a pound lighter. So the rifle without the scope and the mount that I have on here comes in at 7.8 pounds, something to that effect. The other thing that this rifle does is that it comes in more calibers. So you can get this rifle in things like 243. You can get this rifle in 30-06, 308 obviously, 7mm Remington Magnum, 300 Winchester Magnum as well. I don't know if I said it, but 270. So this rifle does not hold, so this is a lot easier of a rifle to carry around, and the trigger, it's my opinion, this trigger is better than a mil-spec trigger on the Daniel Defense. So the Daniel Defense, actually this one has a Geisley in it. Let me see. Okay, this one actually has a two-stage Geisley in it, so this is a better trigger, but the normal mil-spec trigger that comes in this gun, at least, this trigger's better. So the normal setup of the DD5 without the Geisley, I think that's the Geisley SSA, this trigger is better out of the box. So it's lighter, doesn't rattle. There's nothing in this gun to rattle. The magazine doesn't rattle around. It's easier to carry when slung because there's nothing sticking out of the bottom to catch on your back straps. It manages recoil. I believe this manages recoil as well better than the DD5. This is also a gas-driven gun as well, just like the AR-10, but this just for some reason it manages recoil better. They have some additional pieces in here to help manage the recoil and to help reduce wear on some of the moving parts of this rifle. So lighter, more accurate as well. The DD5 V2, in my hands at least, is about 1.5 inch gun at 100 yards, right? Some shots on average. Some better, some worse, but give or take 1.5 MOA gun. This is an MOA gun all day long as you don't let the barrel heat up too hot. Then it does. If you start shooting this, 30 shots in a row without letting it cool off at all, I will say that this starts to walk a bit because this barrel is so thin. But for hunting purposes, the first 2-3 shots for hunting purposes, this gun's a tack driver. I would say that if I was going to go walking a long distance, I would carry this rifle every day of the week over the DD5 or any AR-10 with that kind of weight. More accurate, larger caliber selection. This holds, in 7mm Remington Magnum, it holds 3 rounds in the detachable box magazine. The magazine's not with me, but the magazine clips right here. It holds 3 rounds in there and 1 in the chamber. But you can get it if you get it in a lighter caliber than 7mm Remington Magnum, which is what I would suggest. Actually, in this rifle, I would suggest 270. I've shot this rifle in 30-06, 270, and 300 Winchester Magnum. And I would take this rifle, if I had to pick for a hunting rifle again, I would get this in 270 Winchester. That's my personal preference for this gun. And part of the reason is because the 7mm Remington Magnum is a belted case, and I never had problems with belted cases in bolt actions. I've never had that issue, but I have had where I didn't load the magazine correctly, seated the rounds in the box correctly, where it did get hung up on the belt. I've seen it get hung up on the belt. So, and that's not a good thing if you need to take a follow-up shot. So I wouldn't get this rifle again in a belted Magnum. So no 300 Win Mag and no 7mm Remington Magnum. 270 in this is actually more accurate even than the 7mm Remington is. I don't know why that is, but it is. And it cycles better because there's no chance of getting caught on the belt. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having a belted. I want to clear this up for anybody that's typing in there. There's nothing wrong with the belt. I don't think there's anything wrong with the belt either. I've killed more deer than CWD with a 300 Winchester Magnum, and that's a belted Magnum. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the belt. Just in this rifle, I've seen it get hung up. Personally seen it get hung up. So what do I use this rifle for? I use this rifle for, there's a specific hunting club that I'm in Florida that we have 2 leaner ladder stands in. They're not comfortable, they're not easy to get in or out of, they're just basically a metal plate sitting on top of a ladder. So I use this gun for that because this is easier for me to get in and out of those 2 stands than it is with the Daniel Defense. Also, the walk to those is through some pretty thick brush, and the magazine rattles, hits stuff. I don't like it really. This is a better gun for that. And this is a 24-inch barrel. So that's the other thing. This is a 24-inch barrel, whereas the 308 there is an 18-inch barrel. So you're losing velocity on an 18-inch barrel, right? And the 308's, you're losing velocity on your 308. With a 24-inch barrel out of this Remington Magnum, you're going to get pretty close to whatever they put on the box as far as velocity goes, because those boxes are normally, their test barrels are either 26 or 24-inch barrels when they're firing to get the velocities that they put on the box. So this is going to get much higher velocity, much closer to what you have on the box. I guess I can go over how I have this set up. So I have this set up with the rings are Leupold Mark V's, and the scope is a Vortex PST2. It is 3 to 15 power, 30 millimeter tube, 44 millimeter objective bell. So that's one of my favorite scopes for this price range. I think the scope is, this is a first focal plane, so I think the scope is like $8.99 or something like that. So for a first focal plane scope with parallax, illuminated reticle, 0 stop, decent magnification, 15 is way enough. I can easily shoot out to 300 yards on 6 power with no problem whatsoever, especially with this scope. Collects light pretty good, and yeah, this is a pretty good scope, especially for that price point. I'd say it's one of the best scopes for that price point, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a semi-automatic hunting rifle, and you're looking around and you're seeing all of the different models of AR-10s out there, and you're like, well, if I got 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor to pick from, and the barrels are shorter, right? And I want to make sure that you get velocity, especially with a 6.5 Creedmoor. If you go with an 18-inch barrel with a 6.5 Creedmoor, that's already, somebody's going to hate this, that's already an underpowered cartridge. Now you're trimming off barrel length. So you're taking a 2,700 feet per second round out of this, been chronographed out of a 24-inch barrel and putting it in an 18-inch barrel. You're losing velocity. How much? I don't know. Could be a couple hundred feet per second. With this, if you're going to go with a different caliber other than 6.5 Creedmoor or 308, I'd recommend this rifle because you have more options. They're lower. This is also cheaper. Let's say that. This rifle was $1,900, give or take, something like that. AR-10s are commonly $2,500 to into $3,000s, and if you do find a 300 Win Mag AR-10, for instance, those can be incredibly expensive. So if you do want to shoot a larger caliber, like 7mm rim mag with 300 Win Mag, you can. The price is going to be much better with this package. So that's about all that I can say about this rifle, other than the one thing that I don't like about this rifle, other than the fact that, and it doesn't happen all the time, it's only happened a couple times, other than the other fact that it only carries 3 rounds in the magazine, where if you do go 270, you'll get 4 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. So that's 5 rounds for hunting, and I normally carry a pocket. In my bino harness, I normally carry additional rounds just in case. In fact, I carry another magazine here. You can clip, like you can see it's not in here now. You can clip the box out of here just pull it out and stick another one in there. It's not as fast as dropping this magazine and reloading, obviously, plus you get 20 rounds in there. But for hunting, I have one in here with 3 rounds and one in the chamber, and I have another 3-round magazine stuffed in my binding harness. So the other thing I don't like about this, I don't like this recoil pad so much, but you know, this gun doesn't, for 7mm rim mag, this gun doesn't hardly recoil that bad at all, due to the fact that it's semi-automatic and some of the wizardry that they put in here in the springs and in the gas system. This also has the ability to adjust your cant, and I haven't done that. I've got this all set up factory, but you can adjust the cant of the fit of your rifle stock on this rifle, whereas with something like an AR-10, you can go in and out with the length of pull, but you can't adjust the stock cant or camber. You can't do that. So that's more adjustability here if you were actually looking to customize the fit of this rifle to your liking even more. It's got a pretty good flat face trigger, and again, nothing in the rifle. I'll go ahead and pull it. That's all the take-up right there. That's it. So I don't exactly know what the poundage on this rifle is for the trigger, but that's the take-up, wall, break. There's hardly any creep in this rifle, so it's got a really good trigger as far as I'm concerned. So if you are considering an alternative to the AR-10, you want a maybe a more traditional, I don't want to say traditional because 308 is traditional, scratch that. If you want a more diverse selection of calibers, including things like 243 and the 270 Winchester, 30-06, etc., this is the rifle to get. So if you like these kind of overviews, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about any of the guns that I show on my channel, or any of the scopes or equipment that I have that I'm showing, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you and answer. And if there's anything else that you'd like to see about any of these things, go ahead and put that in the comments too, and I'll do my best to do a video or a follow-up on that. I will say the scope that I put on this is the Vortex AMG, and they don't make the AMG anymore. I have no idea why, other than I heard some rumors that because it was made all in America, and that this is an awesome scope, that there was not a lot of profit to be made in these scopes, so they only put them out for a short period of time. And I got lucky and found someone that had multiples of this, and I picked up more scopes than I had rifles for at the time to put this on, just because I really like this scope. So, but anyway, it's not being made anymore. So again, please subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and have a good rest of your day.